The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans, and welcome to our player ratings show here at Up the Cherries in all departments. Of course, I have got to the left of me today, I've got Mr. Matthew Harrison. How are you doing, Matt?
You're good, Craig. Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here as always.
Good stuff, good stuff. And of course, just below me, I have got Anna Doran again. How are you doing, Anna?
Hey, yeah, I'm doing really well. Yeah, surviving the heat.
Yes, it's boiling, isn't it? Absolutely boiling. It's nice, but yeah, it's nice. Too nice for evening to be stuck indoors. But hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. But I tell you what, let's get it underway. And I'm gonna pass the baton over to Matt to talk us through it all.
Right, okay. Let's get going. So, firstly then, Lloyd Kelly has moved on after 23 appearances last season. I'm not surprised by this. Obviously, I'm sure you two aren't either. But what's your thoughts on his season last year?
To be honest, I think when he come on and, when he did play, I think, he did the job that he was set out to do. He is dependable. He had that wobble, didn't he, the season prior, under Gary O'Neill, and of course had the captaincy taken off him. And to be honest, I thought it was probably the best thing that actually happened, because it gave him the confidence, took him out the spotlight a little bit. I think he's dependable, and apart from that wobble, he's not really done much wrong in a Bournemouth shirt. Unfortunately, he did come under so much flack from segments of the fan base, and to be honest, it feels like he's never really forgiven the fan base for that. I really like him. I really do like him. I think actually, because we haven't got a recognised left back, who's fit at the Euros, I think, Lloyd would be the perfect player. So, yeah, I'm a bit gutted that he's gone. But, yeah, this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Anna?
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think the fact he's so dependable when he does come on, despite, like you said, all the bad vibes that were going around a few years ago about him, he put that to one side and he just came on and did the job every single time. And I think back to some players who may not have been so professional, particularly coming to the end of their contract as well, to still put in a shift every single time. Nothing but praise for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never rated him as a centre-back, if I'm completely honest. And my opinion really is he's moved on, we move on.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
Fair play to him. He saw his contract out. He always put a shift in. But you move on, don't you?
Yeah, most definitely. And he's highly rated by Eddie Howe. That's why he's signed for Newcastle. So Eddie's not a bad judge of player. and he signed him for Bournemouth, signed him for Newcastle. I think Lloyd's got something good going for him. I think as long as he's not played out of position, which I think that was probably one of the issues and why his performances dipped a bit. He's okay, but yeah, like you say, he's moved on. We've just got to see who else comes in. And I'm sure we'll touch upon another player that of course, we do risk losing during the summer.
Right, let's move on to the others that have left. Obviously Randolph, Radu, Ryan Fredericks, Macondes, and obviously Jamal Lowe.
Yeah.
Got to say, there's no real surprises here, to be honest. Obviously, Fredericks couldn't find fitness last season, could he at all? Macondes could just never really cement a place in the team. The whole time he's really been here. I know he had a little stint in the side during the championship season, but even then he was kind of benched for most of it. Jamal Lowe never said he'd be a Premier League player, to be honest with you. That's not surprising. Radu, didn't see too much of him, but the little that we did see of him, got to say, the likes of Mark Travers and Neto and Will Dennis, who's been out on loan, I would say is better keeper than what I've seen of him, to be honest. And Randolph done his stint as a third choice keeper, and I believe he's going into some sort of martial arts, I've heard. Don't know if that's true. There's rumour going around that he was going into like cage fighting or something, but that might just be rubbish, but I don't know. But whatever he does, I'm sure he'll everyone wish him all the best. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I think this is not really surprising.
No.
Go on, Anna.
Yeah, no, I think apart from that lovely kind of attitude that Emiliano has, he's, and that was missed, but you don't see him play much. And like you say, just struggled to get on the team. It was nice seeing him some of the development squad games that he was with, but never really seeing him first team.
To be honest, I agree with you there, Anna, and I think in some ways, Macondes is a real great ambassador for whichever football club he plays for. The only thing is, we're keeping him back a little bit. So hopefully now he can maybe drop down into the Championship and do what he does best, which is get teams out of it. So you never know. You never know with that. But I really do. I rate him as a person, as a player. I just don't think the Premier League is his level. Championship, he can do a job though. Jamal Lowe, I agree with you, Matt. Never a Premier League player. Ryan Fredericks, of course, come in as a little bit of backup. At times, I thought he was really, really good.
Yeah,
during
when he was fit,
season.
he was a good player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But it's just fitness. And I mean, when we signed him, a couple of West Ham fans did say to me he's a great player, but he just can never find fitness. So, that's obviously proven, isn't it? Which is a shame. But yeah, he put in some real good performances, but just his fitness, wasn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. And talking about the two goalkeepers, Radu, didn't rate him. From what I saw of the cup games, his decision making was poor, and it said all you need to say, when Mark Travers come back from his loan move at Stoke, which I think, has been a good thing for him. Darren Randolph, of course, he's been playing third fiddle for so long. And hopefully we'll see him in Kill Bill Volume 3, if they ever decide to make one. You can imagine, can't you?
Well, that's those few discussed. So that's the ones leaving the club. So let's discuss Neto very briefly, and then we'll decide whether we keep, sell, or loan. So obviously, he was the main choice last season, wasn't he? And there was a few little blips that we saw towards the end of the season, and obviously, Travers come in, did a decent job until the Chelsea game at the end of the season, but I've scored him a 6.5 out of 10, obviously. He did well, didn't he, through parts of the season? But it was just that blip that he had every now and then that made me think it wasn't the best of seasons for him.
I think, personally, I think the rating is more than fair. I personally think that Neto, one more season, I think we've probably got out of him. He is. The thing is some of his decision making, again, is very, very poor. And we've had this conversation whether or not the keeper is actually being asked to come for crosses. And I think that Neto has made quite a few mistakes on that front. So is it a Neto fault? I guess we'll never know. But personally, if we say that it is, unless we're told otherwise, I'm sure Andoni will sort it out if it's not Neto. But yeah, I think the rating's fair, but a bit disappointing. The worst game of all, I think from Neto was probably that Wolves game at home. Made a right mistake in that one. But you could probably throw out some other ones. Anna, what do you think?
Oh, I've just had flashbacks to the start of the season for that Wolves game, and I think I spent a lot of time like this. It was, yeah. I think as many amazing saves as he'll make in a game, the one or two that go in, it then just destroys everything, which is frustrating. But it's also frustrating how short memories people have in a game. But obviously, if we end up losing it, that is all that's going to get talked about. I think you're right. I think probably age-wise, another season out of him, perhaps. But is he going to be our first choice goalkeeper?
That's the question.
Yeah.
That is the question.
And would he be happy to sit on the bench in the hope of getting a game if it is going to be maybe his last year or so playing? What?
He has been a number two at a lot of the clubs he has been at, hasn't he, over the years? So he might be happy to sit on the bench for a season and take a final payday. Who knows? But so keep, sell, or loan?
Keep.
Yeah, I said keep. Yeah. Keep. Right, I've done it in squad number order as well. So
this is like play your cards right, isn't it?
Oh,
Kirkes.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, great player. One for the future, definitely. Very exciting. Great at going forward. Maybe a bit erratic going into the odd challenge here and there, but that's all in the fun, isn't it? But I reckon 7.5 for him. Not a bad score for his first season.
Go on, Anna. What do you reckon?
I really rate him. He's just got so much energy, and I just really rate him. I was really disappointed he's not done so well in the Euros, actually. Because I think he just seems to be a different player when he plays for us. But yeah, for me, he's an absolute keeper. And I think it just shows how much interest is being talked about from other clubs, and whether that is just, snippets of a little bit of hearsay. But I think that is, something for us to feel really proud of if we can keep hold of him for another couple of seasons and develop him, the style that we've been playing. Yeah, I think he's a great asset for us.
I personally think, he's an outstanding player. I don't know what I can add to it, really. He's very erratic. Wasn't it against Brighton he got sent off?
Wolves away.
Wolves away, yes. Yeah, Wolves away.
And that was I mean, it wasn't the worst challenge in the world, was it? But
no.
It's very much in keeping with the way he challenges, and just I felt like that one was the one that got picked up on because it was so close to the bone. But if you look at all his other challenges like that, they're all, I can't believe the slide tackles that come in there, and he manages to win them most of the time. But that one close.
I would 100% keep him. But can we? Because of course there was that social media post that was very, very cryptic. Some people saw it another way. I saw it as, maybe a little bit of naivety. Something that, let's be fair, when somebody puts something on social media, people construe it in different ways. They can either construe it really positively, they can construe it really negatively. So unfortunately, a lot of people construed it as Milos was off, but I would like to keep him, but I think there's going to be many suitors.
Yeah, I would like to keep him. Definitely. And sounds like you do as well, Anna. So
Oh, yes, please.
I think we can all be agreed on that. But I think if we get the right money, we sell. Because there's a lot of talk of money between 40 million and 50 million. And if you think of the profit margin, and maybe if the club want to invest in other areas, but I mean, obviously we're going to need a left back anyway. We've lost Lloyd Kelly. If we lose him, obviously we definitely need a left back. We need left back anyway. And I think I'd rather be in the market for a couple of left backs than losing a certain goal scorer. So but if the money's right and we were to sell him, I also wouldn't personally be unhappy with that. I don't think he's the most loyal with players, if I'm honest. When you look him up and do your research on the player, I mean, he's had a lot of clubs for a player of his age. And he's even had the likes of Paolo Maldini try to keep him at AC Milan and he still wanted to move. And so, I don't know if he's the most loyal of players. And I think if a big club comes sniffing around, his agent's going to start the motion going, I think.
I think what Frano needs to be doing is speaking to Andoni and seeing exactly what his body language is like when he comes back. If his body language is bad, sometimes a player like that who wants out, who does see, the money side of things, especially if, say, for example, a couple have put bids in and we reject them. If the body language is bad, keeping a player around, can actually have a negative effect on the rest of the squad. So I think we'll have to trust whatever Andoni, his view is on Milos. I'm sure he'll make the right decision on that front, though.
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's move on to Lewis Cook.
He should be in England squad, and I think, to be honest, it's shown that, considering he's had a fantastic season. I really do like. I've always rated Lewis Cook. He's been very, very unlucky with injuries. That's why I don't feel that maybe he could have got a move away to a big club at some point. I think that's why. Luckily, we've still kept hold of him. But secondly, he's never broken onto the international scene because when he has played, let's be honest, Anna, he's so dependable, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at these stats, and I'm just thinking, surely it's rhetorical we keep him, of course. He's God, some of his stats there are just incredible, and how he has been overlooked for England is crazy. I mean, we were chatting just before, weren't we, Greg, about the state of the last few games, and you just think, well, we have got so many players that would be able to fill the gaps that seem to be appearing. And although in some ways I'm glad he's not gone over there, because he's hopefully training, getting ready for us for August.
Exactly. And I think it would really, because I think he would do a fantastic job in an England's shirt, during this Euros. But, I think that would alert many clubs, who maybe don't probably look at him because of his injury record. We're lucky to have him, and it's a definite keep from me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just echo what you both said. Definitely a keep from me. Definitely. Well,
There we
Yay.
are. We're all in agreement there, aren't we?
Got to keep him. He's an engine last year, so
Yeah.
I would
definitely.
even say your rating there, 7.5.
Yeah, but don't forget, 7.5 is quite hard. When you look at the rest of the ratings,
yeah.
it's kind of top of the. There's nobody going to
Yeah.
be a 10, is there? We ain't won nothing.
No, most definitely not. Most
There's no
definitely
10s
not.
here. Yeah, there's no 10 out of 10s. So I think 7.5 is quite a good score.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, fair
To
enough.
be fair. Mepham. Now,
Oh,
didn't see a lot of him last season in the Premier League.
no.
Only 10 appearances. I do like Mepham. I do like him, but I'm thinking, from his point of view, where's his career going now?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Who do the club plan to bring in? Obviously, you've got two strong centre backs that have been ahead of him pretty much all season, and rightly so.
Yeah.
Does he want to be a backup defender, or does he want to go out on loan?
Yeah.
Or to get some game time, or do we
Yeah.
sell it?
Well, just to jump in, I very, very briefly talked to him after a game and said, when are you going to be playing? What's going on? And he said, I'm trying. And he's, the sort of attitude just felt like he just wants to be on, but he's just not making that cut. And I think that's such a shame for someone like him. And I'm thinking now about his international career. If he's not getting the game time with us in the Premier League, it just doesn't seem right for him when the squad, the bigger picture for him is maybe an international, which he's just not getting enough game time, and you really hate for him to lose out on that because he's not being played. So, a loan away to a championship club, maybe.
Yeah, it seems cruel to not be, playing him really.
Yeah.
He's a model professional. He really is. He always comes in. He tries his hardest. He's still a youngster. He's only 26 years of age. So, is he going to get a little bit better? Potentially. But I don't think he's going to get better sitting on our bench. And although I'd like to keep him and, maybe loan him out, the thing is we've got to think of how big this squad is. And I'm sure that Andoni is going to be looking at other options. I think for Chris Mepham's career, I think it might make more sense to have a move away from Dean Court. Don't get me wrong. If he goes to Bristol City, for example, and he'll do really, really well in the Championship. He'll do really well, and he'll probably end up in the Premier League with wherever he goes because he is dependable at that level. But I just feel that maybe, I think maybe his time's run out here a little bit, and it's just not good for his career.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Fair enough. But to be honest, I'd quite like that. I would quite like him to go out on loan rather than be sold. But my argument, I just feel that he'll go out on loan. He'll do really well at a club. Again, let's make that example of Bristol City. Does really, really well there. And then he comes back to Bournemouth and then sits on the bench for a bit and then gets frustrated and then goes on loan to another side. It might be fairer to let him leave now.
I think my trailer thought with a loan move is that if we were to sign another defender and he goes out on loan and there's a couple of injuries, he's a decent player to bring back in on to call the loan short and recall him. So, and that kind of covers us at the same time. So a little bit selfish at the same time, but at least he'll be playing some games. At least he'll be playing some games.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Roman Favre.
Yeah. Personally, from the little that we have seen of him, hasn't really set the world alight for me. obviously you come back in to let Brooksy go to Southampton. He wanted more game time, so
Yeah.
he was just coming back in to basically fill the space on the bench, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Effectively, but yeah, for me, from the little I've seen of him, yeah, I'm not too.
Well, I would honestly want to see how much actual game time he has had, because it can't be that much. Certainly not enough for me to make a really solid decision as to whether he makes an impact or not. I've seen him in a few games, but it has been, last 10 minutes he comes on, if that. And actually, I for me, that's a hard decision to make with keep, sell or loan. And
I'll give you the view from a different perspective here. Of course, I spoke to Nicholas, and I do speak to him quite regularly. He's a Lorient fan, and of course, Roman Faber went to Lorient last season. The view there was that he was all right. He was all right, but Lorient did get relegated, unfortunately, from Ligue 1. So I don't think he set the world alight there. I don't think, from the little we've seen of him, and plus, I don't think Andoni has seen enough of him to give him more game time. I think he needs another loan. He is a youngster, and I think he's come on board for the future, but for now, no. I think it's loan. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say loan. In fairness to the player,
Yeah.
I can't see, maybe with, if Brooksy wants to come back and fight for his place, which there's talk of him, coming back to the club and seeing what's going to happen. Where does it leave this guy? Does it mean he moves on loan, or if Brooksy was to go, is it a case that he stays and competes for a place? But I think from what obviously you said in the past, from the guy you speak to at Lorente, and is it Lorente? Is it
Lorient.
Lorient?
Lorient.
Yeah, I can't really pronounce his French accent. Yeah, no, for me, I think a loan for me.
No, that's fair enough, and I think even if Brooks does go, I think this man needs to go out on loan. But yeah, we'll probably discuss Brooks in a moment.
Yeah. They will come up. All the loan players will come up as well. Well, Dom, it's quite an easy one, really. Is it keep, or do you keep?
I reckon you keep.
Yeah, I think so.
Good idea. Yeah,
I think he's done all right. He's done all right this year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he was good.
He's not done too bad, has he?
All right.
He's not done too bad.
Do you know what? He's been outstanding. He's been absolutely outstanding. And I've even said on Talksport that, that relegation to the Championship has actually done Dom the world of good, because if we hadn't been relegated, I know that's the most stupid thing to say, but if we hadn't been relegated, he wouldn't have got his chance. He probably would have stayed playing second fiddle behind Callum Wilson, behind Josh King, and he wouldn't have progressed to where he is now as quickly as he has. And you see improvement from him every single season. What's he going to do next year? I don't think this is a flash in the pan season.
No, definitely. He's been scored a 9. That's the highest score. I'm sure you're not surprised by that. But it's vital that we keep him.
We'll keep him.
It's vital.
Oh, definitely.
We've just got to hope and pray that this £5 million top 6 release clause isn't activated by somebody, and that he'll be banging the goals in next season. I mean, if you look at it from a top 6 point of view as well, I mean, to activate that clause and him not to reproduce again next season, that's a lot of money for a top 6 side to part with. So, if he goes on and scores another 19, 20 goals for Bournemouth next season, that's when you might see him sniffing. Definitely.
Yeah. I think, one thing as well, with that clause, I thought initially, and I even said it on Talksport, I think it was a good thing to put in there. Unfortunately, now that's come apparent, I think it has alerted certain sides. I think Spurs is probably his most likely destination. I think, Arsenal could be up there. Chelsea. Um, I am resigned to losing Dom at some point, but I agree, I don't think it's going to be this summer. I'd be very, very surprised if it is this summer, then we need to move quite quickly. And I'm sure Andoni is aware if and who it is that is sniffing around more officially.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's essential we keep hold of him. But another guy who's obviously at the Euros, was at the Euros till the other
Oh,
day, but at least he's getting a little bit of an extended break rather than the players that are going through. Is there any of our players going through the knockout stage?
I don't think there is actually.
did
No,
Ukraine make it? Have Ukraine gone
no.
No,
through yet?
Ukraine
They've
are out.
gone. Who else?
Hungary out.
Well, I
I
mean,
can't remember.
Yeah,
no,
Hungary, Milos Kerkez went
they're
out, and
gone.
of course Ryan Christie did.
So
Did Turkey? He didn't go in the end, did he?
No, he didn't. He's injured.
He's injured.
So
So no,
London
I think that's. I don't think there's anything worth watching anymore. I'm pretty sure that's it. Done.
But Christie, alongside Cook, absolute engine. The only thing I'd like to see from Christie is maybe a few more goals out of him. I think he's got goals in him, but I think he's found goals difficult to come by since he's been in the Premier League. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his games for Celtic, but he scored some right worldies up there.
yeah,
But in terms of him last season, dropping back, forming that partnership with Lewis Cook, I thought the guy was fantastic overall.
agree, 100%.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of my 3 top players of last season. Yeah, would want him on our team every day of the week.
Yeah, no, definitely. And his family are nice as well. His family tend to sit in front of in front of us at the games, and
Yes.
had a long conversation with his uncle a couple of games before the end of the season. He come down and started chatting to us, and lovely guy, and so is his dad, lovely bloke. So yeah, let's hope
Keep 100%.
let's hope he's a keep, but he's going to be a keep, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he'll go anywhere.
No, I don't think so. And I'm glad he obviously got that, the extension on his contract when he did.
Yeah.
Because he's a good asset to have, Christie. Dongo.
In which position are we going to discuss him?
This is it. I mean, he did well at left back, didn't he? I mean, it might, it's if we keep Kerkez, will we necessarily be in the market for another left back?
I don't know, but his I just remember the first time he was on that leg, that goal he stopped going in with that leg that just seemed to go gadget. I'm like, who else is going to do that? He's just throwing himself at everything. Fine.
Yeah.
My opinion with Dongo. He's great in the position that he's not bought for. His passing can be absolutely terrible at times. His crossing is absolutely exceptional at times. But as a defender, which of course he wasn't meant to be, I think he's actually quite good. And to be fair, I really like him. He's versatile. He's not the best player in the world. We know that. But I think he works his socks off. I do like him. It's just a case of where does Andoni see where he fits, and I think he's adequate cover for that left back position if
Yeah.
Kirkes was to leave. Of course, Kelly's gone. He could play on the wing. Don't expect any good passes, but some good crosses will be in there. And of course, he's good for a goal as well. He scored that goal against Spurs, didn't he?
Oh,
That winner.
yeah.
And of course, he should have had one against Manchester United, last season, which was unfairly ruled out. He's an interesting player, but I like him. I'm in the keep category for Dongo.
I'm in the keep as well.
Yeah,
I've
and
sold him there, haven't I?
I think seven's a fair score for him for his season's work, and we keep him.
Yay.
Happy
Yeah, he's a
days.
good bloke as well. And do you know what? Like sometimes, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's a good saying there, isn't it?
That is
Look,
a good saying.
motivational coach. And Dongo works hard. He's not the most talented player. We know that. Sometimes you think, what is this guy doing in the Premier League? He'd probably forgive me for saying that way, he might not, but at the end of the day, he will always give 110%, and
Yeah.
me, it's a keep.
Yeah, I think we're all agreed on that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Alex Scott. Definitely a player of the future, isn't he?
Yeah.
I know he's apparently been monitored by, obviously, City. I think Pep obviously likes him. But I don't think he's going to be there, obviously, because he's leaving at the end of next season, if we believe everything that we see and if he's true to his word. But yeah, a quality player. I think there's got a lot more to come for this guy. And I think next year we might see more of him as maybe a starter. I know obviously he had that injury at the beginning of the season. He had a little one mid-season, didn't he? But and he can play in various different roles as well, can't he? So
yeah,
he's an asset across the pitch. But yeah, from what I've seen of him, I think he's an exciting player.
Go on, Anna, take it away.
Yeah, no, I think we've done well with our Bristol City recruits.
Yes.
I think him and Antoine have just been great, and I echo what Matt just said about the injuries. I think that's such a shame because there was, obviously he came back from his original injury, had a couple of really fantastic games, and then sort of lost him again for a little bit. And I think that really, obviously struggling to get starts and struggle to get consistency. And so let's just keep fingers crossed this year he stays injury free and we can have a much better start to the season than we did last year because, we were obviously really affected at the beginning. So, but yeah, nice one, Bristol City. Keep them coming. We will happily take them.
What's going on down at Bristol at the moment?
Something in the water. Let's have it, though.
Honestly, Alex Scott, I think, very, very unfortunate with his injuries. A little bit naive at times. I think, with what everybody said about him, when he was arriving, and again, I'm going to be brutally honest here. He's probably a little bit behind that curve of where they expected his progression to be. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. And why that's not a bad thing is the pressure that, he must have felt because, of course, there was so much talk at the start of the season about how good he is. The pressure, I think, might have got on him a little bit. That pressure's now being released. Andoni's looking after him. He's not going to go out on loan or be sold or anything like that. He can stay here. He can focus now this season on making himself better. And I think he will profit a little bit better than he has last season. The main reason being is that pressure has been taken off. He's a good player. He is one for the future. I say about he's a little bit behind the curve. He'll catch that up. Yeah, I think under Andoni, I think Andoni will get the best out of him eventually. He will catch up that curve. And, I think he is one for the future. So, yeah, he's not going anywhere. At least he can focus.
Yeah. 7.5 score and a keep.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
we'll all be agreed on keep
Yeah.
there. Definitely. Adam
Smithy.
Smith. Now, last season, towards the end of the season, especially when Max was injured, I thought Smithy was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. True pro.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the natural progression for Max will be that he will eventually take over from Smithy. He's obviously got another season, which was triggered last year, last season. So he's going to be with us next season. How much football he will play next season might be debatable. If Max is fit, I'd imagine Max will probably start ahead of him. But he was truly fantastic, I thought, again last season. Experience, captain the side quite a bit last season as well. So, yeah, 7.5 for me on Smithy. I thought he put in a real shift. I mean, even if Smithy's having a bad game, he still puts a shift in.
Yeah.
He's been one of my favourite players for a long time. And but I just thought towards the end of last season, especially when Max was kind of coming back from his injury as well, he was, for 75 minutes or so, he's putting in so much effort. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he had a great season.
I actually think Smithy has been better under Andoni Iraola than he was Gary O'Neill. I think, when you think back, and I mentioned it to you at the time, didn't I, Matt? The Brighton game at home where Matoma had the beating of him. It was a defeat. I think it was a Wednesday night, wasn't it? It was freezing cold. But Matoma had the complete beating of him that night. Under Andoni, I think his style of defending has changed a little bit. He sits a little bit deeper, but it works for him. It gives him that extra room. And I think he is a workhorse. He does work really, really hard. I personally think he'll get quite a few appearances next season, and Max will be rotated because, in a way, we've got a very young squad. Sometimes you need that experience in a side, and having an Adam Smith at the back, just calms things down. If we're 1-0 up against one of the big boys, calm things down, and take the pressure off other players around, and that's what he does very, very well. I've always liked Smithy. He's a good ambassador for this football club, and 100% keep. What do you reckon, Anna?
Oh yeah, I've got nothing really to add to that. I think it's he's done such a great job for the club over the years, and I think you're right in terms of being that solid member of the team with the experience there, sort of in the way that Gary Cahill was when he was here a few years ago. Just that sort of calm under pressure and what have you. And yeah, keep, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Ah,
Marcus Tavernier.
Don't think he had his greatest season last year. There was a period, wasn't there, where he was starting games and he wasn't delivering balls into the box correctly. His corners were poor. So
just seemed to lose his confidence, didn't he?
yeah, that's
In
what it appeared.
decision making at the crucial time. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're spot on there.
I witnessed him in all his glory at Sheffield United away, and then the turn of form I just couldn't get over the dip that just came from, sort of seemed like out of nowhere after such an amazing few games, and the confidence just seemed to go. And genuinely felt desperately sad for him because he's young, like we were saying about Alex Scott, and to have those highs and then the lows that he was experiencing. And the comments in the crowds and everything, people really, rightly they're expressing their opinions, but that pressure is clear, and it just seemed every week it just seemed to get more and more and more, and I think that's desperately sad for any young player. But what do we do to get that confidence back? He needs to score some goals. Does he go away for a little bit and do that?
I personally think we should persist with him, because I've been lucky enough to meet Marcus, and I might be completely wrong here, but he seems to be a player. He's a very, very nice man, but he comes across as maybe somebody who, if things aren't going right, it can affect his other performances. He can't get out a little bit of a rut. So it's maybe one that Andoni needs to keep an eye on. He's a very good player on his day. If you remember back, not last season, but the season before that, when we played Fulham, when he come on, he was absolutely sensational. He scored that wonderful goal. So he can really, really, really perform. He's a confidence player, like somebody else as well that will be coming up. He's a confidence player. I say 100% keep. I don't want him to go anywhere on loan, but it's somebody that the coaching team will need to keep an arm around. He's a good lad, and I want him to do well.
I think sometimes he's more effective off the bench, as well. But yeah, I think I agree. I would persist with him. So yeah, I would say I think it will be a keep.
Yeah,
on him. Another player. I met his mum as well, actually, and she had her phone in her hand, and she kept on looking at the game, looking back at her phone, and then she started cheering, and it was because his brother had just scored for Rangers.
Oh.
And what she does is one week she
course.
comes and watches Marcus, the next week she goes up and watches James, and the day when he scored and she started cheering, he had actually just become Europe's highest goal scoring right back of all time, I believe. Hey ho, that's a little story for you.
There we are.
Next, Mr. Sinistera.
I like this man.
I like him.
He's good.
I like him.
Yeah.
The thing is he was suffering a bit with injuries last year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think a fully fit Sinistera will be a major asset.
Doesn't like it in Leeds, though, does he?
Well,
who likes it in Leeds?
Who cares? Who cares? Not one of my favourite championship clubs. Let's put it that way.
No, it's a bit grim up there, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of potential with this guy, definitely.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see him get a real run of games next season. I can't remember what was his assists. So yeah, 20 appearances. He scored 2 goals, created 2 assists. There's definitely more in him than that.
Yeah, definitely.
When there's a fully fit Sinistera, I believe there's more than that in him.
He's skillful and he's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him.
And I think he's only scored 7 because of the amount of appearances he did make and the injury side of things. I don't think we really saw the best of him last season. But you can see it's there. You can see it's in him.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Anna?
Yeah. Keep all day long.
Yeah. Keep.
Yeah. It's nice. It's nice watching him and Senesi, if I'm totally honest with you. Just their friendship is just something I think is so nice. Keep.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully he stays fit. And talking of players that need to stay fit.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler Adams. Now, this guy, for me, he is a natural leader. You can see, even though he hasn't got the armband, he's, for me, a leader. And the small amount of time we've seen him last year, you can see he is quite commanding on the pitch. He's G'ing players up. He's he's a
Very
leader.
American.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
American.
He is Captain America, isn't
Yes.
he? And but the massive thing for me for this guy, and even at Leeds, I think what was it? He made 3 Premier League appearances for us last season. I think in total between us and Leeds, he's only made 29 Premier League appearances.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of appearances, is
Not,
it?
no.
So
No.
the fitness for me for next season for this guy is absolutely key.
Mm.
Can't really
Yeah.
score him any higher than a 5. He's better than a 5 rated player. But how can we can't really. I can't really think of a higher score because of what little we've seen of him, plus his injuries.
Mm.
But if this guy is fit next season, he's going to be a massive asset, I think.
Yeah.
The only
Agree.
problem is you've got the likes of Lewis, Cook, and Christie, who will also have some real competition to keep their place.
That's not a bad thing, though, is
And it's
it? I
definitely
think,
not a bad thing. That's a great thing.
everybody keeping themselves fit, looking after themselves, and competing for those places, and and actually having that sort of turnaround, that rotation, is, gosh, I think we're going to need it this year. If we start playing right from the get-go, which obviously we weren't quite in the system last year, I think that rotation will be really important.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
totally.
Yeah. 100% keep.
Yeah.
Needs a good pre-season, but yeah, I think,
Agree.
yeah, can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot to come from him if he stays fit. If he stays fit. 8.5, one of my favourites from last
Yeah.
season, Clivert.
Yes.
Great.
Exciting to watch, isn't he? Can play in behind, can play out wide, can even play up top, can't he? I mean, again, another player that's an asset across the whole of the front line. For me, I'm just praying and hoping he keeps his form for next season because I think he can be even better. So, yeah, love him. Not going to lie.
I can't really add anything more to that. I think he's just brilliant. He is an outstanding player, and if you look at his career before coming here, it was a little bit disjointed. It didn't seem like he'd settled anywhere. He settled under Andoni. So personally, for Justin, even if somebody comes in, it's best that he just looks the other way. I think personally, I think he's Andoni's not going to want to sell him anyway, and I think his whole career we've improved it for him, and yeah, he's happy here. So 100% keep, and Justin should be 100% stay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Yay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. James Hill.
Interesting one, this.
He had an excellent loan spur at Blackburn.
Yeah.
He came on in our first game of the season against West Ham at right back.
Yeah.
Played a bit of right back during pre-season, if I remember rightly, and looked decent. Still think there's room for development. I think he needs game time. If the likes of Mepham stay and Senese, Barnier stay fit, do you loan him? But I do like him as a player. I think he's got a lot of potential.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say that we keep him this season. No loans. I think he replaces Mepham in the squad. I think it means that Mepham goes. Which I think is probably best for Mepham's career. But I think James Hill, this is where he's going to step up. I think he's good enough to step up. And he's a really, really talented lad. So yeah, there's a lot to come from him. And yeah, I say keep, not loan out, and get him involved in this squad.
I agree. I think going back to what we were saying about Mepham earlier on, if he goes, then I think James, like you say, he's a natural replacement in there. He like you say, he had a great spell on loan, and I think hopefully now's his time to sort of step up to that mark.
We'll scrap that because I'm outvoted. We'll scrap that because I'm outvoted, so we'll change that to a keep.
Fair enough. But yeah, I honestly think this is his time to make that step up. So
I mean, for me, I think if they were to bring another centre back in, or Mepham was to stay, he's happy to stay and make up numbers. Then do you really want to prevent this guy from playing?
No,
that's the way I was looking at it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I agree with you in that way. I think because that goes in with what we were saying about Mepham, about him not having the game time and him not being able to progress. So if Mepham stays, absolutely, this lad needs to play.
I do agree as well that if Mepham was to move on, then it should be this guy's time. So okay, that one's in the middle.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Oh, this is Craig's favourite.
Honestly, keep him all day long. Yeah. What can I say about Anthony? He is.
I think this is like your man crush, isn't it?
He is. Yeah, he is.
This is Gary O'Neill, isn't it? This
is Anton is the new Gary O'Neill. I absolutely love Anton. I think he's a brilliant player. He's got that eye for a goal. He's tough. He wins his battles. When he signed, and I know this is going to make people laugh here because I've gone on and on and on and on about Anton and how good he is. I wasn't that excited, and I was like, and I said to Mark McAdam, and we was like, when he signed, and you can watch it back, it's somewhere on the channel, and we was like, well, he blew a little bit hot and cold at Bristol City. The thing is Andoni has got the very best out of him. He's got consistency, and he's improved him significantly. Anton always had it in him. Honestly, he's got such a good career ahead of him. An absolute legend. Do you know what? Well, she was English because we'd take him to the Euros. He'd improve us there massively. As well. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in complete agreement. I absolutely love this man. He's exciting. He takes the chances. Which I think we were lacking last season. Just, not a hit and hope because he's got a clear eye for what he's aiming for, but just taking those chances and not trying to walk it in. And he's a lovely bloke as well. I've met him a few times after games, and I just have got so much time for him. I've loved seeing him successful with Ghana as well. I mean, that ridiculous injury time winning goal that he scored last year in the AFCON qualifiers just blew my mind. And I just love seeing him being able to get that international game time. Yes, a shame not for England, because I think he would liven things up massively. But then I reckon I could go in and play and liven things up massively at the moment. But keep all day long.
100%.
Yeah, I can't. I echo what you both say, and he's my dad's favourite player as well. So he's,
there
you go.
Great minds think alike, Matt. That's what it is. That's what it is.
That's it. So there's a lot of people that rate him. So
he's not going nowhere. I tell you what, I'll close the Wessex Way if somebody comes for him. That's what I will do. I'll just park my car in the middle. He's not going nowhere.
He's not going anywhere either.
He's not going anywhere, no.
Yeah.
I think he's really
another favourite of mine. I think, it was good to see him amongst the goals last season as well.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, years ago, I remember when, long time ago, when Mel Machin was manager and Ian Cox and Eddie Howe were playing, he used to set the two centre backs a minimum goal target of 5 apiece. He wanted 10 goals from the centre backs, and I don't know why Iraola doesn't set these two a goal target for the season, because they could pop up with a few goals. These two lads, I reckon, that play centre back. But yeah, good defender. I've liked him since he's come through the door. And check him out on YouTube as well, because he scored some worldies at some other clubs he's been at. And I remember when we were signing him, I looked him up on YouTube and I was watching his goals and I was thinking, Jesus, is this guy a striker or a defender? But yeah, I think he had a good solid season. And yeah, long may it continue with him, because I highly rate him.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep all day long.
Keep.
There we are.
Days.
We knew that was coming, Matt.
We knew that was coming. This guy, great alternative to Solanke. Gives you something different. Definitely got goals in him. I think we're going to see a lot more goals out of him next season. It'd be interesting to see them play up front together. I think that would be a real force. Whether Iraola's going to do that, I think he likes the one man up top, doesn't he, and the one in behind. But definitely an asset if something needs changing. Bring him on. I really like him. I mean, the Leicester game in the cup. Now, obviously, that ended up being an absolute disaster. But if he hadn't gone off injured at half time, he would have bagged a couple of goals that game, and I think that would have been the difference in the game. But as soon as we lost him at half time, I think that kind of did us a little bit. But yeah, love him. Got to say, really like this guy.
Yeah, he's a great pair of fresh legs towards the sort of last 30 minutes of the game, last 20 minutes or so, and when he's come on, even if he's not scored, there's been 3 or 4 really decent chances that he's taken on, and keep.
And I think Turkey definitely missed him at the Euros, didn't they?
Yes.
But he's just completed his permanent transfer, and he's definitely a keep. Craig's man, he stuck his neck out on the line and has said is world class. Go on then, I'll let you take this one, Craig.
He is world class. Honestly, I think, he is only going to get better and better. There's been talk of Manchester City. There's been talk of Real Madrid. How true is that?
Wow.
Until Sky Sports says anything and Mark McAdam says anything, I would take it with a pinch of salt, like anything.
But you can see why that he's linked to those kind of clubs, can't you?
Yeah, he's, there was a tackle last season, and I think it was Erebesh Eze, and he had gone through, and it looked like it was going to be a one-on-one situation, and Zabania didn't have any divine right to make that tackle, but he did. And if he had brought him down, it would have probably been a red card. It would have been a penalty, but he didn't. It was pinpoint perfect. And honestly, he is outstanding. He will go to a bigger club. We're not going to have his presence for very long, but I hope we have it for a little bit longer next season.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will move on, but obviously we'll keep him, and both him and his centre back partner scored an 8. So I think that's a fair score between the two of them, because they were quite solid at times. So Philip, interesting one with Philip, because there's a lot of talk about him potentially going. Iraola's come out and said that he's had a great attitude since he's been kind of dropped to the bench, and how he's been pleased with the impact he's made when he's come off the bench. But there's talk about whether the player himself is going to be happy. On this one, it was a difficult one, this one, because my head is saying sell, but my heart was saying keep on this one.
He just signed a new contract in the middle of last season, didn't he?
It was in the season before.
Was it?
I don't know. He signed some long contract, didn't he? At some point,
Yeah,
was it 5 year?
I thought it was. Yeah, and I thought it was the season we've just had.
Might have been,
completely
yeah.
wrong, but I was just in my head. I was like, oh, that's his commitment. Then that's him. He must want to stay. I mean, the body language on the pitch doesn't always read like that, but
I think for me, and Craig will probably tell the story in a second about his mental health. If I'm right, Craig, that was about what you were about to start saying.
Yeah, I was going to give that spin on it.
I think he is a highly capable player. But he does have those moments where he appears to be struggling.
Yeah.
And I think if the guy is not getting game time, is it fair to keep him if we could bring someone else in? Or this one was a tricky one. This one was a tricky one.
For me, I think this is where we don't stand in his way. I think, he is a confidence player, and a confidence player needs time on the pitch. They need to be starting. They need that arm around the shoulder. And I think Phil Bill, I think he's a hard worker. He's a shy lad. If his confidence goes down, well, we saw it. Not this season, but the season before. We saw it against Leicester. He was having a right stinker of a game, that game, if you remember back. And then all of a sudden he scored his goal. And it was just like sparked into life. He is a confidence player. He's not the most... Well, it's horrible to say this because I say that he's not maybe the most outgoing as in terms of he integrates with the other players, but you've got to remember that this was the man that saved a player's life early in last season. So Philip Billing, and I can't get by calling him just the first name, but I personally think he's a very, very good man. He's a very good player. I wish him all the very, very best. He is a confidence player, and hopefully he never lets that get in his way wherever he goes. But for his own, his own headspace more than anything, I'm trying to word it right here, but for his own headspace, I think he goes at this point to somewhere where maybe he is going to be starting pretty much every game. Now, that might be a newly promoted side. That might be a Leicester City. It might be an Ipswich Town. But he'll do a good job there wherever he goes. I think, it's probably best to cash in now. Sadly.
Okay. Anna, cash in.
I'm a keep with Bill. I really like Bill. I think he's obviously clearly had an up and down season, but he is someone, I think, like we were saying earlier, he can make a difference when he comes on. Maybe not the whole game, as a start through, bring him on later. But he is one that, I think, like we were saying about Marcus earlier, get a goal or two in him, and he's away, and his confidence is there. And but he is someone I do want to keep.
Yeah,
I'd love this to be the scenario where we do keep him, but I think if it is not going to be for the benefit of the player, and the player's form
Right.
isn't going to be good when he comes on, I
Right.
think we can't stand in his way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Max Aaron's, yeah. I mean, you think about a couple of years ago, and Norwich were talking about £20 million plus for him, nearly 30, and it was muted as well at one point that
Yeah,
he could go for, and we get him at a snippet of the price, and he's an
Mm.
absolute asset, I think.
yeah.
Like I said earlier, he'd be the natural successor to Smithy's right back position. But yeah, I like him. He's good. He's pacey. Likes to beat his man. Can deliver a ball. Good attacking fullback, and that's what I like. I like attacking fullbacks. So he was definitely going to be one of my favourites, and I forgot to actually put a rating on there. So,
It's just priceless.
I'd probably say, yeah, priceless. Yeah,
So,
yeah. I don't know. I'd probably say 7.5.
Yeah, I would say so. I
Probably.
think he's a good lad. He is a natural successor to Adam Smith. I think he'll probably have a season where he's sharing his game time with Smithy. But I think gradually as the season goes on, he might make more of a impact. So what I mean is by that is he might play the full games towards the end of the season. I think it's very hard to leave Smithy out after some of the performances last season. So unfortunately, due to his injury, I think that's what has maybe held him back from really cementing that place. But I think he'll get it back, and it'd just be gradual progression. You can probably learn a lot from Smithy as well. So yeah, 100% keep.
mm-hmm.
Cool. And finally, for the current squad, Mark Travers. Now, this is an interesting one for me because if Neto stays, we've brought this new keeper on who we very, very quickly discuss at the end. We've got Will Dennis, who's had a superb season at Kilmarnock. So for me, if you believe everything you read, which you shouldn't always believe, but this Alex Poulsen, who we've brought in, apparently is going to be number 2 goalkeeper next season. So if Neto was to stay, I don't think, if Mark isn't playing every week, I don't think he's going to want to be here. So I think if Neto's here for another season, I think personally this guy needs to go out and get more game time again, because he's a really, really good goalkeeper, and I rate him highly, and I'd rather see him playing than just sitting around for most of the time and just playing the odd cup game if Neto is going to be number 1 again next season. So it all depends on Iraola's thinking, doesn't it? Because, he moved Neto out of the way, and I could understand why he did that. He brought Mark in for 4 games where he kept 2 clean sheets, and then for the Chelsea game, Neto was back in. So it does make you wonder Iraola's trail of thought. But I think if Mark isn't the number 1 goalkeeper next season, I think he should go out and get game time again.
You almost wonder what he's got to do to be number 1 if Neto goes, but they put someone else in. Like, I don't know what more he can do, how much more he can prove himself. And it would be a shame to keep him on the bench as a backup when he's clearly good enough to be recalled to fill a gap where our other 2 weren't when Neto came off for a bit. So,
because there was that injury, wasn't there? Radu was playing. Neto was injured, wasn't he? Randolph was injured. Radu was going to play, and they recalled him, didn't they, from Stoke? And he on the bench.
I think that says a lot about how valued he is for us as a replacement for Neto. If they're going to bring him back, so it would be awful, I think, for him if he was on a bench as a number 3. If the rumours of the other being number 2, and I would, if if it does come to that scenario, loan. There we go. Yeah.
I'm going to argue the toss here.
Ooh.
I personally think he should be number one goalkeeper next season. I really like him. I really like him.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but
I think
my trail of thought is if Neto is playing, if this kiddie that they've brought in is going to be number 2, you can't keep a goalkeeper of this quality sat at this football club.
100%.
He needs to go out. He needs to play games. If Neto then moves on after next season, he can come back in and compete for the number 1 jersey.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be playing for his international career. He wants to be an international goalkeeper. He's been in squads plenty of times, so he needs the guy needs to be playing, but you're spot on. I would not be worried about him being number 1 next season at all.
Yeah. And if he's not going to be number 1, loan. Let him have that game time elsewhere.
I completely agree for his progression, but everybody, in the comments, who do you think will be number 1? Will it be Mark Travers? Will it be Neto? And what happens with Travers? That'll be quite interesting to hear from the crowd who are watching.
Right, let's just briefly, very quickly, look at the forgotten men. Very, very quickly. So all I want from yourselves is a keep, sale, or loan. Okay, so Gavin Kilkenny loaned out for pretty much the whole season. Didn't work out for him at Charlton. Had a little bit of a better time at Fleetwood. But what do you think for his future? Is he going to break into this first team? Do we loan him again? Or do we sell?
He's still young, isn't he? What is he?
He's still young. He's been at the club for quite some time now.
He's been for a while, but what is he?
2016, he was in the... So he's got to be about... Yeah, he's got to be 23, 24, is he? 23?
I think it's around about 24 years old.
24. So he's starting to reach that age now where I think if I was in his shoes, I'd want to be playing regular. I mean, I don't know. What do you reckon?
Sell.
Sell. Craig?
Sell.
Sell. Yeah, I think it's time to maybe sell and let him progress his career on elsewhere. Joe Rothwell. So 17 appearances, 4 goals for the Saints. Was a player that Parker originally wanted, but we couldn't sign him in the January because Gavin Kilkenny wouldn't go out on loan, which meant then he joined us on the free in the summer. I'll let you guys decide.
I want him back. But I have heard so many Southampton fans saying that they were really disappointed with him towards the end of the season. And I was just shocked. I was like, if you don't appreciate him, I'll take him back.
Do you reckon you keep him then, Anna?
Yes.
I think that Joe Rothwell... To be honest, Joe Rothwell could do a job in the Premier League. Not with an Andoni Iraola side. I think that's why he's gone out on loan to Southampton in the first place. For me, unfortunately, it's a sell.
So you've got 1 sell, you've got 1 keep, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think sell.
Ooh.
It's not that he's a bad player.
I just can't see where he fits in, unfortunately. I can't, especially when you've got someone, if Tyler Adams is fit, you've got the other 2 lads. I just can't see where he fits in myself. But he's a good player. He's a good player. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Kiefer Moore. Keep, sell, or loan. Now, Iraola has left the door open for him to come back in and compete for his place. But Solanke's your starting man.
Ennis
is your alternative now.
Yeah.
And I think Kiefer is great in the Championship. But what do you think?
I'm really happy seeing him scoring goals. I don't want us to face him next season, to be honest. But I'm really happy to see him scoring goals, doing what he's really good at. Sell, loan, keep him. keep him elsewhere.
I personally think, he's not right for our style. He's a target man. He's good in the air. He's slow. So personally, I think the Championship is the place for him. There is one Premier League side that I think, to be honest, he could play at, and that team's Everton, because they will get enough balls into the box, onto his head. If he goes to Everton, he can stay in the Premier League. Otherwise, I think it's the Championship. And I think, spot on. Sell, I think, fortunately.
Oh, of course I want him back.
I want him back, but I'm gonna save it for the moment. I'm gonna save my thoughts. But go on, Anna.
Oh, I want him back, but I want him again. Want him playing. Want him scoring goals. He needs to be competing for place in the Wales team, and if he's not going to get the game time with us, I don't want him to go. But I think for him to be happy, he needs to be playing and keeping fit. And for him to have gone through what he's gone through and be sat on the bench, it's not fair. It's not fair. So if he can't get a spot playing for us regularly, let him go.
I think, unfortunately for David, he's an excellent player. After what he's gone through and how he's battled back from that, he's done fantastically well. I think just the way Andoni and the high press and the high intensity, he's struggling with that, and that's no fault of his own. Nobody can blame him. Unfortunately, unless this is one that I would say is, whatever Andoni decides, I just have to agree with. But for me, deep down in my heart, I'm thinking that maybe he can't play at that intensity, and maybe it might be best for his career elsewhere. But I'd love him to stay. Honestly, Matt, I hope that's the scenario.
I think for me, it was more of a, how can I put it?
Sentimental.
Come from the heart, that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
same here.
I just love him. I think he's, for me, I think he's been a great player, and I've always been a fan of his. So I think that's my heart talking there. But I think it would be best if he did go. But for me, it's a keep. I'm going to be selfish.
Yeah, I think
deep down we all want that, don't we? We all want him to. Now this is, I want him.
You want him?
I just want him back. I want him back. Don't stay in Leeds. Why? No, come back.
I mean, he didn't even want to go to Leeds, did he? No. He was part of the Sinistera deal, and he gets told why that they're preparing for the Brentford game that you're not on the bench today, mate. You're off to Leeds.
It wasn't. What? I just again another really young player, and just how difficult that must be to say you're off. I'm very sentimental about this. I think this year for him, I know we said on the review show about him losing his mom, being so far away, I guess, from all of the family in Bournemouth. Obviously no one forgot him. I think, was it Phil Bill with the T-shirt? Was it Don Solanke with the T-shirt?
Oh yeah, Don.
For his mom. The love for him is still here, and I just would love to see him back here. I think he was so good. But with Jordan Zamora, I think if we can find a place for him, another pairing down the wing, I'd love to have him back.
I'm agreeing with Anna on this. I think he'd never wanted to go to Leeds. Never wanted to go there. I think, he was doing well for us. Don't get me wrong. He's not the finished article. He's still got a lot of growing to do. But he will get there. And, although he's never going to be, on the levels of Justin Kluivert, he is a good squad player. and he likes it here. And that I agree with you, Anna. It's been a bit of a crap year for him. And let's be honest, he hated up there. So I say keep. Well, everybody hates Leeds. Let's be honest. It's just crap hole, isn't it?
No,
let's just be honest.
no, I'm
No.
And the reason why, okay,
Go on.
look at the competition he's got.
Yeah,
He's a squad player.
Yeah, but I think
I'm-
we could maybe make room to bring more someone different in the squad
yeah.
by sacrificing.
Oh,
This is
No,
something as
I
well
can't.
that I was talking about, and I hope this doesn't happen and this doesn't, this whole scenario doesn't repeat itself, because I can imagine that Jaden Anthony be like, no, you're not sending me back up there. One of my thoughts is Somerville. I really like Somerville, and especially if David Brooks, was to move on, Crescencio Somerville might be a player to come in. And can you imagine if Jaden Anthony was part of that deal? I'd feel really sorry for him. So I want to keep him.
No, that's it. That I think that's our sentimental.
Yeah, you're
vote,
outvoted, Matt.
isn't it,
You're outvoted.
for this one.
Cool.
I hope
Will
Jaden
Dennis.
watches this.
Will Dennis, fantastic season at
Yeah.
Kilmarnock, 44 games, 18 clean sheets.
Wow.
And they've really took to him up there, I believe, from
Mhm.
what I've read. So, what do you think?
Is he going to want to come back? My goodness.
I think it's a loan. I think it's a loan again.
Mm.
The reason being is, of course, we have signed this new goalkeeper. We've got Mark Travers, who I personally think will be number 1, Neto number 2, Paulson number 3. I think Dennis could do with that loan, but that's not to say when, say, for example, Neto leaves the club, Will Dennis isn't. He's perfect. We don't need to go out and find a goalkeeper.
Mm.
He's perfect to come into the fold. So, yeah, I think loan.
Yeah, loan. Cool. Okay.
I'd probably not spend too much time on this one because, to be honest, he's really been disappointing.
I think he's not settled here.
No, he hasn't.
He's a good footballer. He's not settled here. I don't think he fits in with Iraola, to be honest. So I think that's an easy sell.
Yeah, completely agree 100% with that.
Shame, because there was a lot of promise with him, wasn't there? But
Yes.
And I know he was poorly as well during last season, which doesn't help his case at all. But I just think,
yeah.
I think he's more at home in Italy. And obviously he was with Napoli, wasn't he?
Yeah.
On loan. So, but yeah, I think it might be time to cash in. But just
100%.
briefly before we finish, just a very quick point. Neto to carry on as skipper next season, yes or no? And if not, who would your skipper be?
Oh.
It's one of the 3 men that, is there, but no, Neto wasn't not to continue the skipper. What do you reckon, Anna? Firstly, would Neto carry on as skipper next season?
Oh, wow. Oh.
It all depends if he's going to be first choice, I suppose, doesn't
Yeah.
it? If he's
I
first choice, then Iraola will probably keep him as captain. But
Yeah.
if he's not first choice next season, you can't really have your captain sat on the bench for the whole season, can
No.
you? So,
And I'm thinking Lewis for my choice for captain.
yeah.
Just what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally think Adams, if he's fit, he will
Wow.
get it.
Oh.
But I would want, I think, Lewis.
Yeah.
So we agree on Lewis.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Iraola goes for Adams, but I think Lewis makes perfect sense. He gets the club inside out. Yeah.
I don't think he's captain in America, is he, at the minute?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, actually.
I don't think he is.
Embarrassingly, I've not actually been keeping up with the.
No, I haven't. It's just what I briefly read the other day that that there was an article about the American football team playing in the competition. What's it called? Sorry, Copa
Del
America,
Yeah.
whatever it's called. And the article said something along the lines of Adams is still a captain even without the armband. So I don't know whether that is what's going on or what, but I'm sure someone can drop it in the comments if they know. And just very briefly, this guy.
How many goalkeepers do we need?
20. I mean, how old is he? Is he 20? Is he?
Yeah, he's
Can
very,
he
very
win
highly
games?
rated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally think that this is one for the future. I think he will, be kept with the squad. I don't think he'll be sent out on loan. 21 years old. And yeah, honestly, I think they'll keep him with the squad, get him to grow under Neto, because I think they want him to learn from him. I honestly think, yeah, all day long, he's going to be a real talent. He's going to play third fiddle for me next season. Maybe get some time in the cups, but he looks a very good talent.
Yeah. I just think it's quite impressive that 12 clean sheets in 29 games and only conceding 28 goals is not a bad feat. I know it's the Australian league, but still not bad. Still not a bad statistic. But yeah, interesting. Well, that wraps that up then, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, hopefully. I can't wait for the new season to start, because, of course, the Euros are a bit of a snooze fest. How far can England go? We might be looking back at this and we might say, what were we all worried about? We've done a wonder thing, but I don't think we are. But yeah, hopefully, I think there's going to be a lot of players coming through the door. I think, like we said, I think there'll be players going out. Hopefully we'll keep hold of Kirkes. I think Phil Bill, will leave, get a fee for him. And of course we're going to need to offset, with some of the purchases that we make, we need to offset them. I've said this all along, Crescencio Somerville from Leeds is a player that I really do like. We are overpopulated with wingers, but if Brooks was to leave, then I think Somerville does come in. So, of course, there's lots of different options in that midfield with Christie as well. Yeah, I think we'll make a few signings. Probably not as many as last season, but yeah, a couple, for me.
Be interested to see what happens.
Yeah. Looking forward to pre-season. Really looking forward to the games against the Spanish teams coming over as well. Looking forward to the season.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, Rayo Vallecano, which is Andoni Iraola's former side.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will be good to see
It'll
them.
be good.
They only just stayed up last season. So of course lost to Iraola and it all went a little bit wrong, but luckily they stayed up. And actually, from speaking to their fans, a nice club actually. So yeah, all the best to them.
Cool.
But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Remember, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell button below. It helps us to grow. We are also on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. So do search us out. But until the next one, thank you for joining us and we'll see you soon.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.